all eyes still on Donald Trump, the Donald sitting down with our own Sean Hannity.
In China, the Great China Wall, I mean, you want to talk about a wall, that's a serious wall, okay? That wall you don't climb over with a ladder. You don't even go under it, okay? That wall is 13,000 miles. If you add up everything in the kitchen sink with what we're talking about on our border, right, it's less than 2,000 miles. And a lot of it you don't have to do because you're covered with terrain and you're covered with areas that are already built. Sure. So let's say you're talking about 1,000 miles versus 13, and then they say you can't do it. It's peanuts. It's peanuts. And I will get Mexico, whether it's a tariff or whether they just give us the money.
All right, as Donald Trump continues to rev up support for his candidacy, many now comparing his movement to the Tea Party. A Tea Party man, Lieutenant Colonel Allen West, was on the record. Lieutenant Colonel, nice to see you, sir.
Good to be with you, Greta.
What do you make of Donald Trump? Is he stirring up the Tea Party, or is he not part of the Tea Party? I mean, is that where the anger is? What we first saw a few years ago back with the Tea Party?
Well, you have to come to understand, once again, that Tea Party stands for taxed enough already, and it really is a constitutional conservative grassroots movement. So I think that you already have had that angst and that underlying disappointment in the American populace. They continue to see a government that is letting them down. Look at what the EPA has done out there in Colorado and New Mexico. And so when you're talking about government accountability, when you're talking about fiscal responsibility, when you're talking about limited governance, which is part of our Constitution, and individual sovereignty, but you also have to talk about how do we restore the free enterprise and the opportunity economy. And I think that's what people are looking for. And someone's going to have to step up with a strategy, with a plan to get this country back on the right track.
All right, well, is only Donald Trump doing that because he's getting the numbers? I mean, even in Iowa, the latest Iowa poll, he's still leading there even post-debate.
Well, I think one of the interesting things is that you have an incredible earned media that is allowing him to get a message out there without having to do what a normal candidate has to do, which is go out and try to purchase media. But still, I think that we have seen that just after this first debate, there's been a shift in the lineup of the candidates, and we've seen changes in poll numbers. So once again, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. You're going to have to eventually talk about some of the policies that you're going to put forth, like tax reform policies, budget reform policies to curtail the spending in Washington, D.C., moving away from a baseline budget to a zero-based budget. And I think that at some point in time, you're going to have to talk about those type of specifics. What are we going to do to restore our nation's military, which has been absolutely decimated under the Obama administration? Specifically, what would you do to counter this folly of the Iranian deal?
You know, I will say this. I know everyone says that he's getting all the media, but look, we're out in California. We're going to be interviewing Governor Jeb Bush tonight. We've got calls into every candidate. I know every single show is. I mean, a lot of these candidates. If Secretary of State Hillary Clinton wants to talk email, she can come here. She can talk about anything else. So he may be getting all the media, but it's available, Colonel. They can have it. They can. You know, every single network is looking for them to talk.
Well, there's no doubt about it. There's a little bit of sensationalism that goes along with it. You look at Bernie Sanders and the tens of thousands that he's drawing. It reminds you of the euphoria that you saw surrounding President Obama. And I just want to make sure that the American people are getting back to fundamental principles, talking about the right type of governing direction, and not just getting caught up in another episode of American Idol in our electoral process, because we cannot have that. We need to make sure that we have a strong statesman, strong leadership, because come 2017, this country is going to need someone that can restore our economic security, our energy security, and our national security.
All right, well, I'll tell you that the viewers are looking at a live picture. This is in Michigan. This is Donald Trump, his first post-debate public appearance, and he's got a sold-out crowd there. So he's got a crowd there. He talks about, Colonel, about building this wall, Mexico. What do you think when you hear him say that? He says Mexico's going to pay for it, too.
Well, that's another thing that you have to look at, how it's going to be funded. But without a doubt, the federal government has a responsibility to secure the United States of America. And in the Constitution, the Founding Fathers called it repelling invasion. So let's talk about how we make sure that we're spending the money in the right places. Look, I mean, the federal government should not be spending $500 million of taxpayer funds to Planned Parenthood. Maybe that's one of the funding streams that we can redirect to make sure that we do have proper border security.
All right, so, but tell me though, I still don't understand. I said, you know, why is all the enthusiasm? I don't blame it on the media, but why is all the enthusiasm for Donald Trump and not some of these other candidates? I mean, these other candidates have, you know, quite remarkable careers themselves. Many have been governors, they've been U.S. senators. Carly Fiorina has run a big corporation. So why Trump?
Because people are looking for the outsiders. I mean, when you look at the top 6 now in the polling, you see Donald Trump, you see Ben Carson, and you see Carly Fiorina. People are looking for those folks that are coming from the outside, and you also see Ted Cruz. They're looking for individuals that will stand up against what they see is the political elite class, the status quo, and will fight back against it. You know, they're tired of the same business as usual, and so you may be a governor out there that has an impeccable track record, but if you cannot inspire people, if you cannot bring an energy to this game right now, and if the American people don't trust you to get into 1600 Pennsylvania and do as you say you're going to do, then a lot of people are going to look elsewhere. And so you see a lot of those things that should matter, as it did in 2008 with Barack Obama, who was a newcomer, and he said many things, and a lot of people got caught up in a euphoria, and they gave him the White House, and look what has happened 6.5 years later.
All right, and just a reminder to the viewers, we are going to take part of this event of Donald Trump Live, this event, the sold-out event in Michigan, and just one more response that we're out here in California. We're trying to give everybody equal opportunity. We may be dipping into Donald Trump, but we're out here with Governor Jeb Bush for a long sit-down on foreign policy. So we'll take any of the candidates, they know where to find us. Thank you, Colonel West.
Thank you so much,
And
Greg.
Trump's
Enjoy
rise in
California.
popularity. I will. Trump's rise in popularity growing bigger every day, and now Trump leads over the other candidates, and that lead is actually expanding in the key state of Iowa, home of the first caucus. A brand new Suffolk University